Hello folks, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about order of operations. Order of operations is something you should be somewhat familiar with, but we're just going to talk about it in the context of rational numbers. Now, rational numbers work like any other number, right? They work like whole numbers, they work like integers. So all of these rules that we should hopefully be familiar with order of operations still apply. Right, so the acronym that we use to help us describe order of operations or help us remember order of operations is BEDMAS. And what BEDMAS stands for is it stands for brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Now, what you'll notice here is that I've got a couple of arrows saying that division and multiplication, we group those together, right? It's not that we do division first and then multiplication. What we do is we do them at the same time, but we do them from left to right. And the same thing with addition and subtraction. Addition and subtraction, it's not that we do addition and then we do subtraction. It's that we do them at the same time, but we do them from left to right. You could just as easily rewrite BEDMAS as BEMDSA, right? And it would mean the same thing. It's just that BEMDSA doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as BEDMAS, right? So BEDMAS is what we'll be referring back to. So you ever hear me say BEDMAS, you'll know what I'm talking about, okay? So if I wanted to do, for example, this one right here, -8 plus 1.2 divided by -0.3 times 1.5, right? So again, what we're going to do is just follow our order of operations, right? So order of operations, again, say that we're going to do brackets first, and then we're going to do exponents, and then division and multiplication, and then addition and subtraction. So if I go through this, I'm going to do it one step at a time. And then what I would like us to do is as we do that step, we're going to work vertically, right? We're going to work down our page. So when I do that first step, I'm going to go down a line, and I'm going to find the answer to that step, and then I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to go down a line, find an answer, do the next one. Go down a line, find an answer, do the next one, and so on and so on and so on. Right, so if I go through here and I'm like, okay, well, brackets, do I see any brackets? And my answer is, yeah, I do, right? There's a bracket around this -0.8. There's a bracket around this -0.3. But with these brackets, there's no operation inside this bracket. There's nothing to do, right? It's just there because these are negatives. And usually negatives have brackets around them, so there's nothing really to do from that step. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to look for any exponents. Well, do we see any exponents here? No, we don't. Okay, so then I'm going to look for any divisions and multiplications. And oh, here's a division there, and there's a multiplication there. So we're going to work our way from left to right. So the first thing we're going to do is this division, right? So we're going to say -0.8 plus 1.2 divided by -0.3 times 1.5, right? So I've underlined this here to say that, well, this is the first one I'm going to do, right? So 1.2 divided by -0.3 is -4, right? So then I'm going to work my way vertically, right? So this would be my question here, and then step one is to write the answer to this division down here. And then I'm going to restart my BEDMAS. So do I see any brackets or exponents? No. Then I'm looking for divisions and multiplications, and what I see is that I have a multiplication right here, right? So I'm going to do the -4 times 1.5, and again, work my way vertically. So in step two, I'm going to go the next line down the page, and I'm going to write the answer to that multiplication. So -4 times 1.5 is -6. And then lastly, we only have this one more addition. So -0.8 plus -6 is -6.8. And then that would be my answer. All right, so then we also have to be able to work with fractions, right? So we've worked with decimals, we've worked with fraction, we've looked at how we do both of these, right? We looked at how we divide, how we multiply, how we add, and how we subtract. So now we're just going to take all of these rules and we're going to combine them together in one question. All right, so again, order of operations says we want to look for brackets first. So I see a set of brackets here and a set of brackets here. Sometimes we call these parentheses, right? But these, again, there's no operation inside of them, so there's nothing to do with them. It's just because these are negative numbers, right? So then as I go through, I say, oh, okay, well, here's a set of brackets right here. So what that's telling me to do is it's telling me to do whatever is inside this bracket first before I do any of this other stuff over here, right? So I'm going to rewrite the whole question. -1/2 multiplied by -1/2. And again, no symbol here means that there is a multiplication, minus -2/3 divided by. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the answer to this addition, and I'm going to write that down here. So 1/3 plus -3/12 Well, negative 3 over 12 plus 1/3, how do we do that? Well, we got to think back. How do we add fractions? We add them by finding the common denominator. So if I wanted to do 1/3 plus negative 3 over 12, I have to take this 1/3 and turn it into something over 12. So how do I turn a 3 into a 12? Well, I multiply it by 4. So then I have to take that 1 and multiply it by 4. So I get 4 over 12 plus negative 3 over 12. Okay, well now a positive and a negative, right? When I'm adding a negative, it is the same thing as a subtraction. So 4 over 12 minus 3 over 12 is equal to 1 over 12. So my answer here is 1 over 12. All right, so now into the next step. Again, I'm going to restart. I'm going to look at my question and say, okay, well, now do I have any brackets? And the answer is no, right? I've already done my bracket, so there's none left. All right, do I have any exponents? No, no exponents. Don't have to worry about it. All right, so division and multiplication at the same time from left to right. So I see that I have a multiplication here, so that's what I'm going to do in the next step. Negative 1/2 times negative 1/2. A negative and a negative gives me a positive. And as I multiply across the top, I get 1. And as I multiply across the bottom, I get 4. So 1 over 4 minus negative 2 over 3 divided by 1 over 12. All right, so then we just keep going. We're going to restart. Order of operations, no brackets, no exponents. So do I have any multiplications or division? Yes, I do. There's one right here. So 1 over 4 minus, and then we're going to do the answer to this, right? So how do I do negative 2 over 3 divided by 1 over 12? So negative 2 over 3 divided by 1 over 12. So we have to use our rules for division. So how do I divide fractions? Well, we keep, change, flip, right? Keep, change, flip. So now in order to divide by 1 over 12, I'm actually multiplying by 12 over 1. And when I multiply by 12 over 1, well, this 3 can be divided by 3, and this 12 can be divided by 3. So I end up with negative 2 times 4, right? And that 3 becomes a 1, and that's still a 1. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And 1 times 1 is 1, but in math, we don't normally need to write a denominator of 1, right? So our answer here is negative 8. Okay, so lastly, we have a subtraction. Right now that we've gone through our order of operations, there's only one more operation left to do, and that is this subtraction here in the middle. And again, in order to subtract, we need to find a common denominator. So 1 over 4, a minus and a minus becomes a plus, and 8 over 1. Well, how do I turn a 1 and 2 and 4? I have to multiply it by 4, which means I need to take that 8 and multiply it by 4. So this is 32 over 4. Right, so then 32 over 4 is, plus 1 over 4 is 33 over 4. All right, so 33 over 4 would be my final answer here. Okay, so that is it. We are officially done rational numbers, right? So now at this point, you should be able to compare rational numbers for which one's larger, which one's smaller. We should be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide rational numbers. We should have an understanding of what a fraction is and how we create a fraction. And finally, we should be able to take all of that and put it together. So that is it for rational numbers. And I will see you guys in the next video.